Wow. I feel suddenly challenged to now come and talk about new modern day things. I want to go home, back to the closet, find my old pencils, vellum drawings, and make some blueprints um, from the good old days. All right, so I had a quick question. Is anybody familiar with PTC? Seen a PTC presentation before? All right, I know Amy has. So for those of you that haven't, I'm going to try to not take on the typical approach of giving you 452 slides in about 7 minutes and feeding you technology with a fire hose. So I'm going to try to go slow and try to cover what we got in here. But PTC, as a company, we provide technology solutions for product development. In the last 2 years, we've done a lot of innovation to come up with new products about how you service things. Right? So we know there's a lot of people creating new products today. We also know that there's a lot of products that stay and get serviced for a long time, and there's no solution out there in the marketplace for that today. Only two things I want to cover here is about about a third of our employees are in R&D. We're a very technology-focused company. You won't see us in a lot of trade shows, trade magazines, advertising, marketing. We're really focused on products. And in the lower right-hand corner, for me, first is the thing I like best at work. I don't get paid for that, but it's what I have the most fun with. Is anybody here involved with the Neutron team at Northeastern? Anybody? For anybody know FIRST? Amy does. All right. Come and talk to me about FIRST later. We'll cover that at another time. And then just to give you some perspective about the breadth of companies that we work with, right? So I'm not going to tell you about any one specific company, but really when you look at that list, you say, well, I know the products those companies make, right? So all of these are product development companies. They're all in different spaces. They're all creating different items. But generally, they're all using our software in one way or another to create products. So I guess just to kind of give you a positioning, like, well, Scott, what is this PTC thing all about? What's this solution I'm going to get from you? Or what is this software going to do for me? When I think about companies, there's a bunch of things they're going to do to make a product. They're going to deal with hardware and software engineering. They're going to have to worry about supply chain and manufacturing, and then sales and service on the back end. How do I get it out? How do I make it all work? So we split that and say, well, there's some strategy up front about how you're going to plan and create these things. And on the back end, there's some operational activities that happen. Right? So on the strategy side, there's a whole bunch of activities that happen for each one of these, right? And each one of them is unique, and each one of them is its own specialty, and each one of them has a subject matter expert that does that. On the back end for operations, there's another team that covers all those things. And, I would consider this ERP, MRP. It's really that back end, that manufacturing piece that's running the operations of your company, right? So what products are you making? What methods are you using to do that? And what PTC helps you out with is the strategy. So what are you thinking about? What are you designing? What are you changing? What do you want to make next? Right? So that's really where we fit into the space. So if you had a plan and you said, oh, there's only one thing I remember Scott said, PTC helps with the front end, the design process. They don't have a manufacturing backend. We don't deal with ERP. We don't cover it. We connect to it and we exchange data. We talk to them, but we're really over there. And this is probably the simplest way I could get our products into one single form, right? So going from left to right here. So we have this service and lifecycle management solutions suite of products that we're working on today. So we have customers like John Deere, Caterpillar. They make an earth-moving machine. They sell it to a customer. They make a tractor. They sell it to a farmer. You have any idea how long they keep that thing? They would keep it the rest of their life if they could. So they have parts, service manuals, getting things out to dealers, getting things out to repair techs. And right now, this is kind of an ad hoc paper process or, pseudo electronic process. Nobody's really got a system you say, oh, I'm going to buy that, and then I'll solve that problem. It's fixed. So we're working on that. And then down the middle is kind of the core products we've had for a long time, computer-aided design, so 3D CAD modeling, product lifecycle management, right? So running your business process and your design process internally, supply chain management, and also kind of a new foray for us is this application lifecycle management. So we understand you're doing hardware, you're doing physical products, and you're doing software, and they all come together in one device, right? So even here with the presenter, it's got all three of them in it. You need an environment to cover all of those. So you want to make sure that, the guys in the next building or, across the hall that are writing the code, they're going to go on the board that you're trying to design that's going to fit within a particular housing, all know that their work is going to come together in one place. And that's generally what we're providing here. So in terms of collaboration, right? So when I talk to customers, this is a pretty powerful thing, and I've talked to customers, at kind of both ends of the spectrum. Some say, Scott, I need the guy at that end of the building to collaborate with the guy at that end of the building. And then I have other customers that say, Scott, we want to change the scope of the company. We want a design presence in North America where our headquarters is, and then we're going to put manufacturing in another facility. We're going to put distribution in another. We're going to virtualize this other component and put it somewhere else. How can you help us do those kind of things? So in terms of developing products and how you're going to deal with that, there's a few business challenges you may need to deal with. All right, so customer demand. All right, so customer demand drives the way you're going to design the product. All right, so I always use the presenter as my example because it's always here. Right, so these have evolved over time. At one point, this presenter was a big clunky thing. They're much smaller. They're much easier. You can walk into Staples and just buy one of these. They're 10, 15 bucks. 10, 15 years ago, it was a couple $100s to have something this sophisticated. So the customers are going to drive that. The market is going to drive that. Right? So you can see that with any high-tech product today. People want more and more and more. If that iPhone 6 doesn't have something so cool that I can't sleep the next day, then I might not buy it. Right? They're going to demand those kind of things. And then the corporate demands is all around efficiency. Right? So how do you want to structure the company? Is there a certain efficiency that you want to gain? Is there some place that you want to change the way you do business? Move away from a traditional model to a different model. If we talk about technical challenges, I've got a couple of these. So disconnected teams. I think this is true in any company. All right, so Amy mentioned this morning, total virtual company. PTC has a huge office in Needham, and we've got, upwards, almost 1,000 people there. I show up maybe once a week, sometimes two if there's a meeting. The teams I work with are in India, they're in China, they're in the UK. And, we are required to virtually connect through all time zones, through all different things in order to get our work done. So, work doesn't feel like a brick and mortar place I need to go to all the time. As long as I have one of these, some electronic device with a screen and a keyboard or a mic, then I'm good to go. I can work from anywhere. So getting these teams together and getting them access to content is a really big issue. Technical challenges in terms of how you deal with partners is also a big issue. So think about it. If I have, just a task or some function, I need somebody to do that for me, right? So if it's something simple, not such a big deal. When I start thinking about something bigger, right? So say I'm John Deere. I don't just want somebody to create a weldment for me and ship it back to me so I can include it in a product, but I actually want them to take over the whole design, right? And say, you know what? You guys are now responsible for all bucket attachments that go on this front loader. Okay, and you're now going to be the OEM for that. I need you to manage the whole thing. As John Deere, I'm going to think, well, I do want you to use my software, and I do want you to stay in my systems, and you do kind of need to be on our network. So I can't just cut you loose and leave you out there. So things change a little bit, right? For these smaller tasks that I'm just going to essentially ask someone to do for me, they're less complex, they're more tactical. I need this done right away. When I start thinking about the bigger things, I need to develop a strategic relationship. When I say I'm going to have an Indian manufacturing center or I'm going to have a design center in another part of the world, that's not just saying I'm going to have that and I'm going to put some people over there. There's security concerns, there's IP concerns, there's all kinds of things. And it's all around how you're going to drive that innovation. All right, so I may have some minor cost savings up front, but really the big push is to get here to the upper right quadrant and say, if I can take a function within the company and move it, change it, replace it, rework it, whatever it might be, using these tools, then I have some new competitive advantage to work through. All right, and I think this is the last technical challenge here. So products are constantly evolving. I don't know how that comes out in the projector, but I always like to look at that. This is an old Motorola flip phone. So this thing's about 5 years old. And I used to like to have it in hand when we go through this presentation, because if you look at this board that goes in that phone, I lose track after a couple hundred. You can't count the little squares that are inside that phone. I have no idea how they do it these days, right? So it's the electronic design, it's the PCB design, it's the wiring, it's the component selection, it's mechanical, it's manufacturing. How do all those things fit together, right? And how do you deal with that increased complexity for all those items going in there? And this is my last one here. So big thing around collaboration is also that IP protection. All right, so if I am taking some content and I'm going to put it somewhere else, how do I know that it's secure and that it's safe when it goes there? What is the means in which it traveled to get there? Right, so if we talk about kids coming in now, right, so we talked about younger generations. So when we have interns come in, they instantly come in, they sit down and they say, okay, hang on, I'm going to hook up to Gmail for this, and I'm going to get a Dropbox for that, and I'm going to put this thing over here, and I got this online project thing, and I'm like, whoa, put on the brakes. That works at school, but here we need to protect all the IP, and it all stays within our systems and our control. You don't just fire everything out onto the internet. So, you know, it's something that we're learning. It's something we're trying to get better about, and all of the tools that we use need to have a way to support that also. So internally, we like to call this think globally, develop locally, because you really need to think about who are all of the players that are involved in the process and how are you going to do all these things locally. All right, so I'm going to do 3 more slides, and I think I'll stop it at that. Because, again, I'll be honest, there's like 100 in here. And I can go to any level of technology that you want to see. So what PTC is branding now is, you know, we have a bunch of discrete software applications, some of them at the enterprise level, some at the desktop level. And when we kind of lay them out, you say, well, Scott, that's confusing. Which one do I need? So what we're doing is kind of putting them together into what we call a solution. So our solution here that I want to talk about today was global product development. So it's based on our product called Windchill. It manages a single source of truth. So I have one place to go to get all my information. It enables this fast and secure collaboration, and it shares the collective knowledge of everyone involved in the process. All right, so when I talk about managing, it's got configured document management. So I've got a place to store all the documents. It's got distributed mechanical design. So it doesn't matter. Am I using a PTC CAD tool or am I using somebody else's? We have a work group manager that connects and does all of those things. Or you're using both, right? So maybe you have a partner who uses SolidWorks, right? And you need that SolidWorks data. You want to incorporate it into your Creo design. Or you're getting something from NX, right? All those things can come together in a single environment with us. And the same goes for electronic design. Right? So we don't have a dedicated electronic CAD package, so we don't sell any CAD solution. We partner with ECAD solutions. We partner with the different schematic tools. We have some of our own schematic and wiring tools built in. Again, but all of those tools are integrated so that we can do the design, the management, and the visualization of all that content as it comes in, so we have one place to go. Because quite often, if you walk into a company today and I don't know, I spent a lot of years with Raytheon. You would walk into this floor, that level, in this corner, and in the blue room where all the blue cubes were, that was the mechanical engineers, and they were all doing, you know, pro engineer. And then you left that room, went to another room, and you went to the orange room, and in the orange room, there was a bunch of guys with different kinds of computers and a different kind of IT network, and they were all doing ECAD stuff. And you look at it like, wow, I don't know what that is. You know, or I don't know what that is. And everybody was disconnected. And the same story was true. You go somewhere else, and that was the software guys. Different IT platform, different computers, different environments. So we like to bring all those things together. For fast and secure collaboration, right, so you can have, sort of a bunch of levels here. So coordinated internal collaboration, right? So I want to work with everybody at the table. We're all here. We're all going to go home later today, but I still want to connect with them. So I can, within the bounds of the company, have this internal collaboration. I can connect with anybody. We can exchange the product data. We can exchange the product information. We also have ways to do external collaboration. So I can take a particular product design, apply some IP measures to it, and share it outside. Really, I don't share it outside. I share it to a place that looks like it's outside, and I invite other people to come there and access it. Right, and I give them specific permissions to do so. And then we have even secure digital collaboration. So if I really want somebody to have this information, but I want them to work within our solution, I can also invite them in. Right? So I can push something outside the firewall, bring in those partners, work within the context of our system, so that I know the IP really never leaves the company. It's still here. I still have access to it all the time. And then on the back end, so being able to share things, we have advanced digital design and advanced digital mockup. So this is a nice way to say we have all kinds of fancy CAD systems, and they do all kinds of fancy, sophisticated things, you know, from initial design through manufacturing. You know, I could probably talk at length about those things, but I won't. And then this digital mockup. And digital mockup is really about, you know, when I walk into that blue room and I see those guys doing this CAD work, I don't see what I saw 15 and 20 years ago with guys with tablets and they're drawing lines and they're making these electronic drawings. They're making these really cool 3D models. They're adding knowledge into them. They're adding intelligence to them. They're adding robust and flexible information to them. And I don't want to be limited to going to those guys to get that information. I want to be able to extract that, you know, as anybody involved in the design process, to say, hey, you know what, we need that latest design. I need it in blue and I need a screenshot, right? I don't want to go to an engineer and go ask him for that. I just want to go access the system and do that. So the mock-up tools will let me do that. All right, and if I can, oh, there it is. I'm just going to hit play. This is just like a 30-second demo. Right, so you have some idea. So, you know, this is an appliance, let's call it that. And if I have this design in CAD, I can use the tools to take it apart, interrogate it, understand what it is. I can also use the same set of tools to get the electrical information, the board layout, the schematics, the specifications, any of the documentation, again, all within this single environment. I can say just grab this part and get all the associated product information that comes with it. So for one whiz-bang cool thing, I'm going to show you this cross-highlighting. I click on the schematic, it highlights for me where in the 3D CAD that exists. And this goes by really quick, but again, if I have you know, a design partner in China, I want to share some information with them. Here I'm going to just open it up within the CAD tool, make some quick changes. Quick change will be yellow. I'm not a very complex CAD user these days. Right? And then I can share that back over here so I could see that my Chinese partner has those things, right? So, you know, again, I could probably go on forever about those and I don't want to, but it just kind of gives you a quick view of what some of those tools are, what some of those enabling technologies are, and what PTC offers. Okay, thank you.